Today's meeting provides an excellent opportunity for this. The Peace Council is the second topic of today's session. Poland has received an invitation to the Peace Council, a new international initiative by United States President Donald Trump, aimed at cooperation among nations for stabilization and conflict prevention, primarily regarding the conflict in the Gaza Strip. This is a proposal that may have real strategic consequences. We all realize that it may have real strategic, political, military, and alliance-related consequences, but also economic and commercial ones. As the President of the Republic of Poland, standing guard over state security and representing Poland in international relations, I consider it my duty to ensure this topic is analyzed thoroughly and seriously. All the more so because this matter is not a closed subject, as we know, and it is generating subsequent events of which the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Prime Minister are aware. There is an invitation for Poland for February 19th, and I have received such an invitation to Washington for the inaugural meeting of the Peace Council. This confirms that the matter is still open. It is urgent, and that is also why it has found its way onto the agenda of our meeting today. The problem here, in my view, Mr. Prime Minister, gentlemen ministers, is not today that the government has doubts, because after all, we meet to clarify doubts. I have doubts regarding the SAFE matter, and I am asking questions. The government may perhaps have doubts regarding the issue of the Peace Council. That is a completely natural thing. However, the problem is that the government has not presented to me, as the President of Poland, despite my conversations with the Prime Minister, both formal and informal. Ladies and gentlemen, there are no recommendations, no factual analysis, no reports, neither positive nor negative. In my view, it is profoundly unserious to treat the United States and invitations from the President of the United States as anything other than matters to be taken with the utmost seriousness. However, there is some blatant disinformation circulating, and I also wanted to address this point. The claim that Poland must pay $1 billion to join the Peace Council. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone who has familiarized themselves with the Peace Council Charter knows this is untrue. The Charter clearly states that a country joins the Council at the invitation of the chair, that is, the United States, for a period of 3 years. After this time, the chair decides on a possible extension of participation. I want to say something, ladies and gentlemen, also in front of the cameras and all of you, from myself. What is my position on this issue? During the election campaign, I was asked if I would sit at the table with Vladimir Putin. I replied that I would sit down at the table with anyone if the interests of the Republic of Poland required it. Personally, I am being pursued by Vladimir Putin and the Russian Federation, so I am in no hurry to sit down with the war criminal Putin or with the regime, with a representative of the Lukashenko regime. However, if the interests of the Polish state demand it, then as the President of Poland, I am ready to do so. Certainly, some of you would not want to spend time with me today, and I wouldn't necessarily want to spend time with you either. I am looking at the Marshal, who is nodding his head. So yes, I would prefer to spend time in another company, and from what I understand, so would the Marshal. However, the interests of Polish state security demand that we sit together. And in this context, ladies and gentlemen, amidst this emotion, I would like you to also address the issue of Poland's accession, or non-accession, to the Peace Council. I will also remind you that Russia also sits in the United Nations, in its decision-making body. Does this mean we should withdraw from the United Nations? Not so long ago in this very body, the Russian ambassador, Putin's representative, sat at the same table with our deputy minister, though admittedly not with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. The same situation applies to the G20 group, to whose summit I was invited as the first Polish president. I heard neither enthusiasm about the fact that the President of the United States invited the President of Poland to the G20 group, nor did I hear criticism, for which I am grateful. Criticism in the context that at the G20 in December, most likely, Minister Domanski's representatives, Minister Domanski himself and I, as the President of Poland, will also meet with representatives of the Russian Federation.
Radzie Bezpieczeństwa Narodowego konkretnej, merytorycznej rekomendacji, niezależnie od tego, jaka ona będzie. Państwo polskie potrzebuje w tej sprawie.
Let us not spread disinformation to the public. Instead, let us look after the interests and security of the Polish state when making our decisions. Therefore, I appeal today to the government to present the National Security Council with a concrete, substantive recommendation, regardless of what that recommendation might be. The Polish state needs a responsible decision in this matter, not a comfortable silence. Every piece of information raising doubts as to potential contacts with citizens of the Russian Federation or structures linked to the Russian state, concerning individuals holding the highest offices, must be reliably clarified. It must be reliably clarified for the security of the Republic. This is a question of procedures. This is a question of security. The state has an obligation to act preventively before a risk becomes a fact. The case of the Russian agent Rubtsov, described as an instance of activity under journalistic cover, should serve as a great warning to us all. The most dangerous influence operations rarely, ladies and gentlemen, look like a spy movie. More often, they look like normal relationships, business, acquaintances, favors, common interests. Therefore, the state has a duty to investigate not only what is sensational, but what is potentially susceptible to pressure and foreign influence.
podatne na nacisk i obcy wpływ.